Hanumatan is a 1540 item level guardian raid that can drop ancient accessories. Understanding the mechanics and phases will ensure your clears are more efficient with more effective use of battle items. The recommended order of battle items based on party numbers are player 1 throws a flare, player 2 and 3 throw pheromone bombs, and player 4 drops destruction bomb. The fight is mainly divided into 3 phases, then the last phase, and each phase has its own phase mechanic and end mechanic. Each phase has an internal cooldown of 40 seconds, so in case you outdamage the phase fast enough, then that mechanic will be skipped, but you will still need to do the end mechanic. Also, you will have to break Hanumatan's armor 3 times during the fight, and each time you break it, it provides you with a different buff. First armor break grants 15% movement speed buff, second armor break grants 10% cooldown reduction, and third armor break grants a 10% attack speed. Before any of the Hanumatan mechanics, his eyes will flash red and there are specific sounds that he emits. After each of these mechanics, you will have a chance to break his armor if it isn't already broken in that phase. In case that he keeps at least one armor piece at the end of the phase 3, it will cause an almost fatal attack. Also, failing to break his armor in each phase will cause the end mechanic of that phase to be much empowered. To break his armor more consistently, each party member should aim to use a level 2 plus destruction skill or 2 level 1 destruction skills. On phase 2, one of the party members should use a destruction bomb to help due to the stagger mechanic happening just before. Additionally, every time you hit Hanumatan, you will gain a buff with a drawback that will stack up to 40 times. Every time you get hit or during specific mechanics, you will lose those stacks. Each stack grants you 1% increased crit rate up to 40% and 1.25% increased damage taken up to 50%. At full stacks, signaled by glowing red eye above your head, you will gain an additional buff of 30% cooldown reduction. For phase 1 mechanic, Hanumatan will stomp the ground, knocking down player's hit, then initiating a counter. Once countered, you will be able to destroy his armor. All you need to do is dodge the stomp attack, then stay close to Hanumatan. Use your destruction skills to break his armor. For the end mechanic during the phase 1, Hanumatan roars and clouds form around the area. He will then perform a pizza shockwave attack with a stagger check. When you see him start the mechanic, you need to immediately stand behind him and start staggering. When he is staggered, he will stop the pizza AoE. Use your pheromone bomb. If you didn't break his armor, his pizza shockwaves will be ice or fire, which will deal more damage. For the ice variant, behind is not safe, so stand behind his right foot instead. For the phase 2 mechanic, Hanumatan will prepare a spirit bomb, then projectiles will start falling around the boss and he will initiate a counter. You need to not attack him while he is preparing the spirit bomb. This is a similar mechanic to Baltan's Gate 2 retaliation mechanic. Stay closely in front of him, then counter. If you accidentally attack him during the spirit bomb, move far away from him to avoid getting hit. The supports can also use their awakening to survive the attack. For the end mechanic in phase 2, Hanumatan will bash the ground, creating a series of blasts. He will initiate a stagger check, followed by a counter, then a destruction mechanic. You need to dodge the attacks while staggering, then counter him. Afterwards, use your destruction skills and one of your party members should use their destruction bomb. After that, use a pheromone bomb. If you broke his armor before the end mechanic, his initial bash is in the form of a plus-shaped shockwave, followed by single line blasts starting from his head position, then rotating clockwise. Don't stand in cardinal positions based on his head to avoid the first attack. If you didn't break his armor before the end mechanic, supports can use their awakening to avoid taking a lot of damage, as he will either do a fire version or an ice version that is much empowered and deals a lot of damage. For the phase 3 mechanic, Hanumatan will roar and pound his chest. He will then grab, and if a player gets grabbed, he will smash the player on the ground 3 times, then initiate a counter. All you need to do is dodge the grab. If he doesn't grab anyone, the mechanic gets skipped, and afterwards just use your destruction skills. If he did grab someone, stay away from the 3 attacks and then counter him. Afterwards, use your destruction skills. For the phase 3 end mechanic, Hanumatan will swing his fist 3 times, then he will do a counterable punch. Dodge the 3 swings, then counter him and use your destruction skills. If you didn't break his armor before the end mechanic, for both the fire and ice variation, Hanumatan will swing 5 times instead of 3, and your feet will also generate fire and ice explosions respectively. You need to dodge those 5 swings and the explosions, then counter him and use your destruction skills. If you still didn't break his armor after any phase 3 end mechanic variation, then he will cast a near death pattern. He will pound his fists together and create an ice and fire explosion. Supports should cast their awakenings after the end mechanic if he still has any of the 3 armor pieces left. And last phase is his transformation phase. He will transform into a Super Saiyan and he will pound his chest and generate sound waves. You need to stay close, then move away because his sound waves are inside safe rings. Save your major DPS skills because he has damage reduction while pounding his chest. Straight after he transforms, he will slow everyone then pound the ground, initiating a spacebar mechanic. Your eye will change into a white eye, the crit buff remains the same, however the damage taken is increased from 1.25% to 2% per stack. All you need to do is spam spacebar when the mechanic starts to get away. A general mechanic during his transformation phase, his eyes will flash red, the same before as any other mechanic. He will then grab anyone with his 2 hands and pound them to the ground, dealing percentage damage until staggered. If he grabs everyone, it's a wipe. All you need to do is stagger him. In the Berserk mechanic, there is only one attack worth mentioning. Hanumatan will spawn a green circle-like zone with a yin and yang symbol. The circle can move. He will cast a map-wide seismic pulse that will affect anyone that is not in the green zone. Move with the zone and stay inside. And that covers pretty much everything important for the Hanumatan. I didn't want to go into too much detail showing normal attacks and normal patterns, as they don't do that much damage and they're easily dodgeable. All you need to know is that each phase has its own mechanic and end mechanic. And the most important thing is that you need to break his armors, so the use of destruction skills and the destruction bomb is much needed. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, consider subscribing, and if you're interested to watch more, click on the videos on your screen.